All right, so you sent over some pretty interesting stuff for us to deep dive into today. We've got like lyrics from Billie Eilish's brand new track and a first look at the new Marvel movie coming out.
A fascinating pairing.
I'm intrigued, to say the least. Let's get into it.
Yeah, on the one hand, we have Eilish's, signature emotional vulnerability, and then on the other, we get this peek behind the curtain of, well, morality in the Marvel universe.
Yeah,
Lots to unpack.
no kidding. Just those opening lines of Eilish's Birds of a Feather, though.
Mhm.
I want you to stay till I decompose,
Well-
till I rot, dead
Yeah.
and buried. Intense.
Classic Eilish, though, right? That blend of darkness and raw honesty, that's what she's known for. But I don't know, I feel like there's something more here. There's like this desperate kind of longing beyond just the morbid imagery.
100%. And that's what makes me think about the whole birds of a feather metaphor, right?
Right.
Is this like a love song? Is this commentary on toxic relationships?
Mm.
Is it something else entirely? What do you make of it?
It's a good question. On the surface, it could be like two people drawn together by shared darkness, right?
Yeah.
Finding solace in their pain. But then when you look at some of the other lyrics, like, you wouldn't believe me if I told you how you make me feel. Well, that speaks to a real communication breakdown. So it's less about shared darkness and more about this profound inability to actually see and understand each other.
Oh, for sure. Like they're clinging to each other. But are they even on the same page? That line, I never thought I'd be better off alone. That one hits hard.
It does.
I think anyone who's gone through a breakup can relate to that feeling of being blindsided by how much better off you are without that person.
Yeah, it's relatable, that feeling of heartbreak, fear of being alone. It's universal. But it also raises the question, is she really better off alone?
Yeah.
Or is that just, the heartbreak talking?
Right, because sometimes being alone is the healthiest option.
Exactly.
Even if it hurts. Speaking of complicated relationships, how about we shift gears over to that Thunderbolts trailer?
Okay.
Now, just for anyone who might not be totally up to date on their Marvel lore, could you give us a quick rundown of the whole Thunderbolts concept?
Sure. Essentially, the Thunderbolts are a team of, shall we say, morally flexible individuals.
Okay.
Some might call them reformed villains, others anti-heroes, that whole morally gray area.
Yeah.
That always makes for a good story.
And they've certainly assembled a colorful crew for this team. But the dynamic that I really liked was Yelena and Alexei.
Yeah.
Our favorite dysfunctional father-daughter duo.
Yeah.
It's just something so hilarious and heartbreaking about them.
Absolutely. That scene where Yelena shows up at Alexei's and he's pretending to be on this like highly classified important call, comedy gold. But underneath all that, you can feel this current of longing for connection. It really makes you wonder, does this emptiness she describes, does it stem from her past as a widow? Or is it tied to the loss of Natasha, her surrogate sister?
Oh, that's a great point. Because that line, there's something wrong with me and emptiness, I'm just drifting, and I don't have a purpose. That's some heavy stuff for a superhero movie trailer.
It is.
And like you said, even super spies grapple with feeling lost sometimes.
Right. Yeah. And it really speaks to a theme you see in a lot of these anti-hero narratives. This search for purpose, search for meaning, especially when they've spent so much of their life operating outside the lines of traditional morality. They're trying to find their place in a world that doesn't know what to do with them.
So true. And speaking of not knowing what to do, can we talk about the mysterious Bob character?
Yeah.
I mean, who is this guy? Is he a friend? Is he a foe? Is he like a really enthusiastic DoorDash driver who took a wrong turn? They really played up the mystery.
He's a mystery, all right.
Yeah.
All we know is this. He's involved in the shadowy world of, shadow ops and robbing government labs.
And he's surprisingly chill about it.
Yeah.
But then, just when you think you're starting to get a handle on things, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine tries with the 5 times fast drops a bombshell. Someone wants us gone. Here we go.
And we're off.
Classic, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Raises the stakes. Who wants them gone? Why? And suddenly, you've got this group of anti-heroes brought together under mysterious circumstances, now facing an even bigger threat. It's a recipe for a good thriller.
It's giving bad guys and worse guys vibes, which, by the way, is one of my favorite lines from the trailer. It's such a simple statement, but it really gets at the moral ambiguity of it all, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, that whole line, we're brought up with this belief that there are good guys and there are bad guys. And then later Valentina says, but eventually you come to realize that there are bad guys and there are worse guys.
Right.
It really makes you think, right? Like, it throws the whole good versus evil thing out the window.
Mm.
Makes you question everything you thought you knew about these characters, about why they do what they do. It's like that moment when you realize, like, the world isn't black and white.
Right.
There's all these shades of gray. And suddenly, it's not just, like, these superpowered people, but it's a reflection of us too, right?
Exactly. It challenges us as viewers to think about those easy categories, good and bad, and acknowledge that it's just not that simple, especially with characters like, Taskmaster and Ghostmaker.
Oh, yeah.
They've all got their own stuff.
Totally. Talk about a team with a past, right? Makes you wonder if redemption is even possible for some of these characters. Like, can you outrun the things you've done?
It's a big question.
It adds this whole other layer of suspense, too. Like, how is this all going to come back to bite them?
Well, that's the question, right? Are we just products of our past, or can we actually change? Speaking of baggage, did you catch that glimpse of Bucky Barnes?
Oh, man.
What is he doing there?
Don't even get me started on Bucky. That quick shot had my head spinning. Is he there as an ally? Is he trying to, like, steer them towards, a better path? Or is there something else going on? I mean, he's had his own run-ins with, let's say, morally ambiguous figures. Remember when he teamed up with Captain America?
Right.
And Cap was technically a fugitive?
Yeah.
Bucky's no stranger to this whole gray area.
It just goes to show you, Marvel really knows how to keep us on the edge of our seats.
Right.
Just when you think you've got them figured out, curveball.
Yeah. So on the one hand, you've got Yelena, and she's, dealing with this feeling of emptiness, trying to find her place. And then you've got, like, Bucky, who's been there, right, walked a similar path. Could he be there to offer guidance? It's an interesting parallel.
It is. And it all comes back to that idea of, like, belonging. Trying to find your place in a world that, maybe doesn't have a place for you, that's got to resonate with people.
Oh, 100%.
We've all felt that way at some point.
Just like that birds of a feather thing we were talking about before, right?
Right.
Maybe that's what draws all these characters together, this need to find their flock. Even if it's a flock of superpowered misfits trying to figure out right and wrong.
Exactly. It's that human need for connection. We all want to find our people, right? Even if those people don't exactly fit in. And maybe, just maybe, those imperfections, those shared experiences, that's where they find their strength.
I like that. It's kind of powerful when you think about it. Even with all the superhero stuff, it's the human element that really gets you. What about you? Were there any lines from the song or the trailer that really stuck with you?
Oh, there's so many. But from the song, that line, "I knew you in another life. You had the same look in your eyes."
It's so simple, but it just gets at that feeling of instant connection, like it's beyond time, like you were like meant to find each other, even if it's, well, messy. How about you? Anything from the Thunderbolts trailer?
That line from Valentina when she says, "But eventually you come to realize that there are bad guys and there are worse guys."
That's a powerful statement. Like, it really flips the whole hero-villain thing on its head, doesn't it?
No kidding. It
Yeah.
makes you wonder who the real bad guys are, Exactly. And it just reminds you the world isn't black and white. Sometimes you've got to, make deals with the devil, so to speak, to fight a bigger evil.
For sure. It's like a classic enemy of my enemy idea, but with like a superhero spin.
Right.
Sounds like those Thunderbolts are going to make us think long and hard about power,
Yeah.
and the choices people make.
Definitely.
But you know what else struck me? The humor. I mean, that bit with Alexei and his important call. Still laughing about that.
It's brilliant. It doesn't, take away from the serious parts, but it gives you that little break, right?
Right.
Reminds you that even when things are falling apart, sometimes you just got to laugh.
Exactly. I mean, who doesn't love a superhero movie that can make you think and make you laugh at the same time?
Right. It's all about balance. Good storytelling always is.
So we've deep dived into Billie Eilish's, melancholy, and then into this whole chaotic world of the Thunderbolts. What's the takeaway? What have we learned by looking at these two things side by side? They seem so different.
I think it goes back to that human need we keep talking about, right? To connect with someone, to belong. You see it with Eilish singing about this love that's bad for her, but she can't resist. You see it with Yelena trying to figure out where she fits in with these, reformed villains. But it's there, that vulnerability, trying to figure out who you are, where you belong. I think that goes beyond the story.
It's universal, right? That searching for meaning, trying to find your people. It's relatable.
It really is. And I think the biggest takeaway is that none of us have it figured out. Not really. And that's okay. We're all a little messed up. Okay, maybe a lot. but we're in it together.
Right.
And maybe that's what these, songs and these movies and all that, maybe that's what they're trying to tell us.
Maybe so. Sometimes the deepest stuff comes from the most unexpected places. You think we'd get all this from a sad song in a superhero trailer.
Right. You never know.
So until next time, keep those deep thoughts coming. Who knows what we'll dive into next?